Hey there, this is Malorian. I have a sore throat, but this is going to be a response video to my buddy Anthony from the Sustainable Center. He made a video just the other day. It was called Why I Can't Play GW Games for Fun. So this video is going to be why I can play GW games for fun, and it's going to be not really attacking his video. It's going to be more my thought on it and more showing the other side of the coin. So really to kind of talk about, first of all, where he's coming from. He's not saying he can't have fun while playing GW games. This is more the idea of playing for competitiveness or playing for theme or fluffy lists. Now, of course, when you're playing for competitive, you're just going to take the best stuff in your list, right? What in this book is going to make me win? Bam, it's in my list. Whereas you're playing for fluff, or for the story or the theme, you take that theme and then you build the list around it. And then you do your best with it in the game. And so his video is really on why he can't bring himself to play with those themed fluffy armies. Now, he had 5 points there, and what they really were all about is the whole idea, first of all, that the story doesn't really progress. So for the GW books, they basically started progressing, and then they just stopped. They got to a point and they said, you know what, guys, we're done. Not only that, they actually reversed it for a bit there, too, for some of the story. But that's it. It's done. As opposed to the Privateer Press, where every single book, they're always advancing. Every little expansion, every new book that comes out, they expand the storyline even more. Another one of his points is that they don't do it for all the armies, because clearly if you have Dark Elves or one of the other armies, Orcs and Goblins, that get these books more regularly, and then you have Dwarves or Wood Elves or Bretonnians that don't see books for a long time, clearly even if they could advance the story, they can't do it evenly between all the books because of how these are done not in an equal way. With this as well is the whole idea too where with doing this, because they're all at different levels in the way that they're coming out, they're not all equally competitive. So if you were to take a new book, you could probably get something and make it a lot more competitive, even though it's a themed list, as opposed to going with one of the old books and then trying to pull a theme out of there. Another one he had is a whole idea about how there was the whole suspension of disbelief. So, but since they don't ever advance the timeline, what that really means is that they either have to shoehorn fluff into the existing fluff, or they just have to retcon it and just completely change it. And that kind of really takes away that feeling. Of course, if you're a person who's playing for fluff or for a theme, you have to have that strong theme there. And if they're changing it, it really throws you off. I know for myself, that's what killed me for the Necrons. I love their Necron fluff. That's why I love the army. Then they completely retconned it, and I can't play it anymore. I got rid of my Necrons. So there's that as well. Another one of his ones there is just the whole idea where stuff just isn't that competitive overall. I mean, if you're going for the theme or if you're going for the fluffy army, it's just not going to be competitive, and that just doesn't work with all the rest of it. So, you know, if you balance that part of it, it'd probably fix all the rest, but since that's not there, what can you do? So, as far as those points go, I'm going to say that those are all correct. You know, I can't really attack any of those and say that they're not factual, but I'm going to, like I said, take this and kind of show the other side of the coin, because there is another side to this. And what that really is to start off with saying, what's the benefit of having a storyline that is just set and does not change? Well, let's look at the Privateer Press side. For that part there, I might really like a character. So, like for myself, I really like Magnus from the Mercenaries. Well, if I'm really into Magnus, and in the new story, this actually happened, all of a sudden, okay, we got a new book here, let's see what happens to good old Magnus. Oh, he's captured by Skorne and he's tortured. Oh, okay. Whereas, you know, you might have it on the 40k side, like, oh, I love Magnus Calgar. Why? Because he's the super badass of the Space Marines. Was he going to be in every book? He's the super badass. That's just who he is. Meanwhile, again, when I'm reading over on the Privateer Press side, you know, maybe I really like Haley. Okay, Haley's awesome. What happens in this new book? Okay, cool. She's going to an epic version. But she got her arm ripped off. It's like, oh, okay. All right. it's just one of those ideas where in the GW side, because it's stalled, what you see is what you get. If you really like this idea and you want to build a theme army around it, that's pretty much going to be staying the same. Whereas if you build this idea on the Privateer Press side, well, you got to understand that they're going to change over time, and that's just going to be something you have to deal with. Sorry, that's it. This is an ongoing story, and it's going to change by definition. The next part I want to talk about here is just the whole idea of where your imagination can come into it. Now, on the GW side, if I want to say like, oh, I'm going to make up this new kind of fledgling chapter, it's coming off from the World Eaters, we're going to be the Bloody Periods, and we're a chapter made completely of women, and what we do is that when we defeat our enemy, we go and we cut off all their genitals so that they bleed to death, right? Like, that's our fluff, and I'm going to build this army so that they're all modeled to be all female, and of course, if there's any female options in the book, I'll make sure to take those, and blah, blah, blah. It's up to me. I can go and I can insert this idea into their best baseline fluff, and it'll fit just perfectly. There's no problem with that. And you see a lot of this. People saying, oh, for myself, my Night Goblin clan is a stabby clan. Okay, it's nowhere in the books. This does not exist anywhere. But why not, right? This is the world. It talks about how the orcs and goblins go around attacking things. They're up in the mountains, the Night Goblins. Sure, there could be a stabby clan. Why not? You take this idea and you just insert it right into there. Meanwhile, if you were to try and do this on the Privateer Press, it just wouldn't really work. If I went into a game and I said, oh yeah, this is my theme army, and it's going to be here with Brynus Sinis. And my opponent's like, what the hell are you talking about? That's Coleman Stryker. Like, is that the Prime version or is that the Epic version? Oh, no. Like, you don't get me. Like, this is the theme force I kind of came up with. Oh, so this is the tier list? No. This is something I just made up. And what are you talking about? This is not something you do. You just can't do this. I mean, not only is there set fluff and set story, but you have to take set characters to be playing in your games. You don't have the same real control, whereas like I said, on the 40K or the fantasy side, as long as you're taking models from the book, you can be as imaginative as you want. I mean, especially for the Space Marines, that's probably where you've seen it the most, where people have made up hundreds of different chapters, thousands, and they say, oh yeah, we're the whatever, these are our logo, I'm going to paint them up this way, we take these type of forces. Sure, why? Whatever, go ahead, right? It doesn't really matter. So that's something where you really don't understand the difference unless you play the two games. Now, I know Anthony does play a little bit of both games. Mainly he does like the 40K and fantasy. But, I mean, for people out there who are saying like, man, I really wish that they had advanced the fluff and it wasn't so static, you have to realize that there is a benefit to just having this static baseline. I think the last thing that I really want to touch on here is the whole idea where if you're going to be playing for theme or for fluff, you really have to take competitiveness completely out of the entire equation. Now, I'm not saying you have to go into a game and say, well, I'm playing for fun, I'm playing a fluffy list, guess I'm going to lose. No, you don't say that at all. However, you have to understand that you're not going into the game to just destroy your opponent. If that's your real goal, you should be going the other way and taking everything that's super ultra competitive. If you're going into it with a theme, you take that theme and you make your strongest list. Now, sometimes, depending on the theme, your strongest list might be still very bad. Let's take, for example, Night Goblins. Night Goblins are a wacky theme. People love it. But because your leadership is so crappy, and because, especially if you go pure Night Goblin, all you have is like Strength 3 little pokey sticks, you're not going to do so well in the game. However, you can go and set off little, basically sub-winning conditions for yourself. Say, for example, if I'm going into a tournament with a competitive army, my goal is to win every game and to win first place. If I go into a tournament with a Night Goblin themed army, well, my goal might be to win one game. Or my goal might be to have it so that in every single game I release all my fanatics don't flee with the units before I release them, just so I can get those crazy guys out there causing lots of damage. Stuff like that. Or maybe even breaking down to this game. Looking at this matchup, okay, I realize his army is more powerful than mine, but that block of knights with his general, oh, it's going to die. It's going to take so many fanatics, and it is done. So, stuff like that. You really have to, if you're playing it for the theme and the idea, have fun with that theme and have fun with that idea, and that's how you're going to have fun in general while playing the game. So, there you have it. This is just a response video. Like I said, everything that Anthony said in his video is factually correct. I'm just trying to show you the other side. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you later. Bye.